The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
People get ready for train to come. You don't need no baggage, you just need on board. You need everything to get it to you.
Hello, everybody out there listening to ARM Radio. Thank you for tuning into my show, All Aboard. My name is Donald Whisman, and this show is being broadcast live from Boston, Massachusetts. And like always, I want to send my prayers out to all the men and women serving in our military, past and present. Remember, they are protectors of our freedoms. And I want to tell everybody tonight that about me, I'm just a God-loving, flag-waving, Trump-supporting, Constitution-loving, patriotic American that loves my country, you guys. And tonight, I've got a couple special guests on here. I've got Les Skymo, and I've got Jimmy Bell. So, Les, if you want to go ahead and say hello to everybody, brother.
Hey, America, how you doing? Hey, Jimmy, I want to thank you for this opportunity, brother. Appreciate it.
No problem. And that's Jimmy Bell. Everybody probably knows Jimmy Bell. And I don't know, we got Bama in here, but I don't know if we can hear him or not. I don't know if he's going.
Hey guys, can you hear me loud?
Hey, you're cutting out, Jimmy. We're live, brother. You're cutting out. I'm gonna move on with the show, though, you guys.
I'll just
You're going to sign off there. There we go.
All right. Now tonight's show, you guys, like I said, that's Les Skymo, and I've got Jimmy in here as well. And you guys know today is the big day that Alabama, all the people went out to vote in a special election for Republican Senator Roy Moore, or candidate, I should say, Republican Roy Moore, or Democratic candidate Doug Jones. Now, it's a little bit after 8 here. It's 8 Eastern time here, so that means it's 7 p.m. It's a little after 7 in Alabama right now, so the polls, the voting has stopped, and it's just a matter of time. And Jimmy or Chad or Les, what do you guys think about that, about the whole Roy Moore thing?
Well, I tell you, Donald, I've lived in the South for like 10 years. I'm from Ohio originally, and I love the people down South. I love the South. Actually graduated high school in Dixie County, Florida, down there, a little town called Cross City, and and I got a lot of that South in me, and I I just think that they're going to go for Roy Moore tonight, and all these accusations. Where was that at? Roy has lost 2 jobs. He was on the Supreme Court and was Chief Justice, and he's lost 2 jobs over his stand for the 10 Commandments. And where was these women at then? If they're lying just for political reasons, that's just a disgrace to all the women that this kind of stuff really does happen to. I just can't believe Roy Moore done that, Donald.
Well, what do you think about it, Jimmy?
I'm telling you, I don't understand. What is flirting now? Sexual assault? Whatever happened to first base, second base, and third base in a home run?
I love it.
You throw all that out the window?
Good.
You know what I mean? Like I said, now everything's a sexual assault if you flirt.
Well, sure. They're blaming our president now, you guys. These new women are coming out claiming President Trump sexually assaulted them. What do you guys think about that?
He already debunked about like 6 of them. Now, I know there's more that are coming out, but it's politically motivated.
Well, sure it is. And what do you think, Les?
This is the final assault. What they're trying to do is the Democrats are trying to take the high ground on this. They're trying to prepare for Roy Moore entering into the Senate so they can, take the moral high ground and point fingers and, we throwed Franken out, we throwed what's his face out, and we've purified the Democratic Party, and that's hogwash. I mean, that just shows you, Donald and Jimmy, how stupid that they think the American people are. Now, granted, some of the people will bite on that, but now, they take you for granted. They just think you're so stupid that you'll believe that. Even, after Slick Willie, it's unreal.
Unreal. Any more you want to say about it, Jimmy?
No, that's about it for me.
Well, did you guys hear about this guy with the pipe bomb that exploded in his hands, I guess on his body or something, down there at the subway station in Midtown Manhattan Monday morning?
Yeah,
about that?
He Velcroed and tie wrapped it to himself.
Yeah, and I guess he was gonna, he was gonna place that bomb in the name of ISIS. And you guys, I don't know if you know it or not, but this man, on his way to put this bomb wherever he was gonna put it, he was on Facebook posting that Trump, you failed to protect your nation. Trump, you failed to protect your nation. You guys, Trump hasn't failed to protect our nation. What has failed to protect our nation is all these Democratic judges, all these Democratic senators, these Democratic representatives. They are the ones failing to protect our nation. What do you think, Les?
Well, he come in here on he's from, Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, yeah.
And he come in on what they call a chain visa. And he had some family members here. And so when he got here, he was able to stay. I mean, this stuff has to be stopped, brother. And I heard him say today on the news, said, well, ISIS is running out of volunteers to be suicide bombers. Well, I tell you what, they picked a doozy here, brother. It's just, he burnt, I've seen pictures of him, and he just fried his stomach, man. It looked like he just laid him on a barbecue grill. And I hope they grill him all right. But, this stuff's got to stop, brother. And, when all this big flood started of immigrants started in here, when Obama was in office, and you seen them in boats and trains and coming across the borders, even in Europe, I seen very few women, Donald. Most of them was fighting age males, and there's no way to vet these people. How you gonna vet them people, man? They living 3,000 years ago. There ain't no paperwork on a lot of them people.
Well, you're right. You want to say any more about it, Jimmy?
Yeah, there's no city hall where you can go down and check them out or do a background check. You know what I mean? They just don't do it.
I absolutely agree with you, Jimmy. It's hard to vet these people. That's why, you guys, now what I'm getting ready to say, there may be a lot of people out there might not like what I'm going to say, but you guys, it's time for America to shut off the valve. And what I mean by shutting off the valve, we cannot allow any more of these Muslims coming over here from these hostility Muslim countries, these radical Muslim countries. It's time for America just to close the valve. I mean, you guys, we've got enough problems inside America right now, and we've got problems abroad. We don't need any more of this crap, you guys. We don't need any more pipe bombers. We don't need any more people flying planes in the buildings. We don't need any more people burning our flags. We don't need any more terrorist cells in our country. We don't need these people hating our way of life. We just don't need any more of these mosques built in our country. It's got to stop, you guys. It has to stop now.
Donald, I've got my sister-in-law, she's a third-generation Mexican. And it's not only those from the Middle East. You've seen what happened in California. They didn't even find this guy that killed Kate Steinle.
Yeah.
They never even found him guilty of murder, man. And that just burnt me up, brother. But it's also that we need to shut the Mexican border off. It's not only Mexicans coming across there. They're coming across here from the South America, from all the Arab nations. They're getting through there, and the drugs. They're making a lot of these drugs right there along the Rio Grande River on the Mexico side. And brother, my sister-in-law, I've talked to her about this several times, and she's got a lot of family lives in Texas. And like I say, she's third generation American, and her father is a full-blooded Mexican, and so is her mother. And he retired from the United States Marine Corps. Her grandparents come here. They worked hard. They spent the money. They done it the right way, and they acclimated and assimilated, whichever word you want to use. They took on our values. They loved this country. They made this country better. And that's the kind of people we need in here, people that love freedom and that love the opportunities. We don't need people to come in here and just suck our resources dry and put us under the financial strain. Bro, we are under such a financial strain from all these illegal immigrants that it's bankrupting us, brother, and this
it's
stuff
costing us billions a year.
Billions, Jimmy, yeah, billions. And brother, it's got to stop, or we're going to become a third world country.
Schools and hospitals, Jimmy. Les, schools, hospitals. I mean, they're getting us everywhere. You guys, it's a welfare system.
That's what they're coming over. That's why we need a merit system, so they don't come over here and go on the dole, right, which a majority of them do, because they got no skills.
Right.
So Jimmy, would you agree with me then that we do need to shut that valve off? We need to close that valve.
Absolutely. Yes, I do.
Thank you. Now, you guys, the next story I want to talk about was, I don't know if you guys heard it, Trump went to visit this new Civil Rights Museum last Saturday in Mississippi. It was some kind of, I don't know what kind of museum, it's civil rights, something about slavery and stuff, but a lot of people protested his visit there. Why do you think these people think that our president is a racist? Why is that, you guys?
That's the media and the Democrats saying that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, do you guys think our president's a racist? Honestly,
have you seen the video?
Have you ever seen Apprentice? I mean, he's not a racist.
Right.
Well, I think he's a good man. I don't think he's a racist neither. And anyway, last Friday, you guys. Go ahead, Les. You had something to say. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, did you see the video where he let this black lady, she was homeless?
Yes.
And he gave her an apartment, and she lived there for a long, long time for nothing. I don't know what the story is now on it, but now racists don't do that kind of stuff, Jimmy.
I don't think so. I don't think he sees colors, you guys. I do not believe this president sees colors, and that's my point on it. But last Friday, after a rally in Pensacola, Florida, Trump's still out doing these rallies, which I love him, you guys. And after that rally, he made a tweet, and I wrote this tweet down because I liked it. He said in his tweet, "This is your land, this is your home, and it's your voice that matters the most. So speak up, be heard, and fight for the change you've been waiting for your entire life." And that's what I believe. If you don't stand up and fight and speak out against what's going wrong in this country, you're actually as guilty as these people trying to bring our country down. If we don't fight back, we're just as guilty as the ones trying to tear it down. You guys got anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Donald, I'll tell you a perfect example of that. And me and you was talking about that today, me, you, and Chad, is the Bundys. How they stood up to the federal government, and the federal government trying to put them in prison, take their land, railroad
Alan Peggy?
Yeah.
That's a good one, Jimmy.
Yeah, Ryan Bundy, Ammon Bundy, and they've even got their dad in jail, Cliven Bundy. And he's 70-some-odd years old. You remember that, Jimmy? They call it the wash. That's when they tried to take... The government tried to make it about the grazing rights. And they wanted their farm, wanted their ranch. Now, in Nevada, there's only like 2 ranchers that graze on so-called federal land. And the Bundys is one of them. The government, the BLM, They have run everybody else off. They bankrupted everybody else. Okay, but Cliven Bundy and his family stood strong, and it was they all three were put in prison. It's been going on about 2 years.
Yeah, it has.
You know, and it all goes back, bro. You know what I'm gonna say. It all goes back to Uranium One and Dirty Harry Reid.
Right.
But they're standing up, and you know, we may not have that big of a battle, but I mean, we need to stand up for what's rightfully ours.
So it's kind of like Ruby Ridge or Waco, then. Would you
Yeah,
consider it
exactly.
like that? The government, yeah, there's some bad people in some of these government agencies, you guys. I mean, there's lifelong criminals in some of these government agencies. You both know that.
Yeah. Well, you know what happens, and Don, we've talked about it. This system was created in 1871. And then it followed up in 1913. Then it followed up in 1933. And what happened there is our government committed treason. And Ulysses S. Grant committed treason. And you go back and you look at these, and when they sold us out and the government became a corporation, every form of government in the United States of America corporation, right down to the dog catcher, is a corporation. And one thing that corporation needs to operate is your money. And the hook or crook, they're going to get your money, and people become slaves. Well, they become, they're no longer servants of the people, but they become
indentured servants.
Exactly. They become sold out to this system, and they just grind you into powder, brother, because they benefit so much from it. Because now they get paid. Now there's unions involved. Now there's benefits involved. There's so much involved that they'll send you to prison. And I hate to say this, but I'm gonna tell you, our federal government has murdered a lot of people, brother.
Well, I don't know if Flint or Jimmy wants to say anything about that, but when it comes to our Constitution, I don't know if you guys know this, but since our original Constitution was made, there's been over 11,000 attempts to amend our Constitution. And of those 11,000 amendments, only 27 amendments have been made to our Constitution, and I think that's 27 too many. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I do. However, look at what we've lost, Donald, since we've become a corporation. Look what we've lost. You know, there was a time when a man had the freedom to travel. It's so bad right now, and I've said this to you before. It's so bad in America. Now, granted, we're still admired by the world. We still have a lot of freedoms. We still have a lot of influence around the world. However, from my study of history and even in my own lifetime, I have seen what our founding fathers died for, what they lost their fortunes for. I've seen it dwindle away, and we're in such a shape right now in this country, Donald, that a homeless man, and you said this before yourself, a homeless man cannot go out here in this river by my house, catch a fish, and cook it and eat it to stay alive without the threat of jail or a fine. Now, what's that? What is that, man? I don't recognize that.
Big Brother.
You know, Big Brother's right. You know, if you don't buy a license, if you don't buy a permit, if you don't pay a fee, you cannot enjoy your so-called rights. Now, that's not rights, boys, if you have to pay to exercise it. It's theft.
Well, what do you call it the other day? What right? You called it a privilege, right?
It's a privilege. Anything you buy, anything you pay a fee for from our government or buy a license to do, it's a privilege because they can take it away. you know. And the only way that they got our rights, our God-given rights, was through that Corporation Act of 1871. Every time the government does something big like that, you know, everything's in a turmoil. The country's under duress. And back then, news traveled slow. And like I've always said, you know, your silence is consent, Don. You know that.
Yes, and Jimmy, Les, I'll tell you guys what, I was reading something the other night. I don't know how true this is, but there was our original Constitution. There was nowhere in that original Constitution that said we had to pay income taxes on our weekly pay. There was nowhere in the Constitution, you guys, until they went in there. I don't know what year it was, and they added something. I think it was to the 16th Amendment, where the government could come in there and have power to tax you on your income. And they think they can't make money. Well, they get taxes on every gallon of gas you sell. Everything that is bought, there's taxes on. So our Constitution was not set up for them to take income tax out of your wages. Believe that or not?
No, well, you know, it's the way it's written, Donald, is it's a voluntary tax. Okay. But don't pay it, see what happens.
Oh, you're going to jail. The IRS is a powerful entity, and I don't want to mess with them. What about you, Jimmy? You want the IRS after you, Jimmy?
Let them come.
Let them come. You don't care, do you, Jimmy?
Not at all.
But anyway, you guys, really, the Constitution, basically, if you look at it, it is a shield against tyranny, and we need that shield, you guys. That shield is being taken away from us right now, little by little, guys.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you know, look at where we at. Look at where we were at. Okay, and I hate to keep beating this drum, but there's no way to get around it. You can't get away from it. Look where we was at before 1871. Now, all this was done, we got to pay for the war. You know, had the war, 1812, Revolutionary War, and had the Civil War and all that, and you know, so they had all kinds of excuses to do this. Okay, but look at the difference between before and now. There was a time when a man didn't pay property tax. There was a time when a man could go out here and he could shoot him something to eat. There was a time where he could, you know, had freedom to travel and do what he wanted. I mean, there is some things, okay, even under our original Constitution, there are some things that was okay to tax. But now you don't tax people into the poorhouse. You know, I mean, look at us, $20 trillion in debt. You know, that's what the Act of 1871 got every municipality. It got every city, every township. It got our federal government. Every one of them operates in debt. And they tell you, oh, balance the budget, we're going to balance the budget. Blah, blah, blah. They don't balance the budget. They just push numbers around, man. It's a shell game. That's all it is.
Isn't it constitutional that they're supposed to balance a budget and not go out of it? The states?
Because
I know California owes us billions. New York owes us billions.
Yeah.
So I said, who lets them run beyond their budget?
Right. Now, I don't know exactly how that's written. Now, there is state constitutions. Each state has its own constitution. Now, I can tell you this, that before this Corporation Act, and they had adapted to it, they morphed into it. They wasn't allowed to make contracts. They wasn't allowed to go in debt. They had to do what me and you do. They had to operate on what money they had. So now that was under the old, before 1871. But now, I guess it's anything goes. I guess the way it is now, because everybody's in debt, Jimmy.
Well, I'll tell you, Les, if this country is a corporation right now, as of right now, we've got the best man for the job because he is a businessman, not a politician. So that's what I feel.
Right. I don't see him doing what Obama did. He's not going to put us $9 trillion more in debt. You know what I mean? I don't see that happening at all.
Well, the debt's coming down, Jimmy, since President Trump took over. We talked about that. He's brought it down like $100 billion already.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I bet you he keeps going down. But if this economy grows, I bet you will lose a lot of this debt.
Oh, yeah. There are going to be more jobs. I mean, the coal miners are going back to work. And not only that, we're getting better trade deals, Jimmy.
Right, exactly. We're not getting screwed anymore by the Democrats.
There you go.
Right.
But it scares me. It scares me, you guys. I mean, if these people out here vote for a Democrat, I'm telling you guys, you're voting for somebody who wants to take away your freedoms. Now, I would love to have a Democrat come on this show without arguing with me. I doubt if I find one, because if they don't like what you say, they want to argue at you. But I'm just telling you, if anybody out there votes for a Democrat, they are hurting their grandchildren in the long run. They really need to open up their eyes and pay attention to what's going on in this country, you guys.
Well, Donald, these days, man, the Democratic Party has went full-blown communist. You know, they're globalists.
Well, yeah, they're social. Well, right now, I don't even call them Democrats anymore. I'll just call them socialists. But yeah, that's the next thing to it's communism. But anyway, I don't know if you guys knew this, but on December the 6th, President Trump's approval rating jumped to 45%. They said the highest since September. Personally, you guys, I don't believe these polls. I think it's a lot higher.
I don't believe it either. Like I said, a lot of people won't say they're with them, especially if they're independents. They won't tell their lefty friends they're into Trump.
Or like where you live, Jimmy, they're in a Democratic area. I mean, you just can't go around telling people that you voted for Trump. I mean,
exactly.
You're right, Jimmy. Good point. And a lot of people did live in these big cities that did vote for Trump, but they're not going to tell people because they want to whisper, I voted for Trump. Well, let's not whisper. I don't whisper it. I let everybody know that I did, you guys.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
Well, here's a big one, Les. Now, everybody out there, even you, Jimmy, I want to let everybody out there know that Les is a veteran of our country, and Les is also a preacher. Now, Les ain't going to come on here and preach and talk about his religion, try to pull you in, but Les is the best man to talk about this. I know we talked about this last week, but it wasn't official yet. President Trump announced that he recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital city. The U.S. Embassy will be moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Now, the Palestinians said it would be a kiss of death to the two-state solution. And Trump they said he's declaring war on the Middle East, which I don't believe that's right, but it seems to me there's always war going on over in the Middle East. And on Saturday, you guys, Hamas fired some rockets into southern Israel. And Israel's defense forces had some aircraft bombs, bombed some of these facilities belonging to Hamas. Now, there were 2 Palestinians. They were killed. Now, you guys, if you don't know what Hamas means, Hamas is a Palestinian Islamic group that controls the Gaza Strip. And it's really complicated. So, Les, if you don't mind, will you tell us, in your own words, as a preacher of 30 years, why is it important for the United States of America to back Israel?
Well, Donald, that's really an easy one for me. If it wasn't for Israel, America wouldn't be America. That's where our Judeo-Christian values come from, brother. America has done the job that Israel wouldn't do. They denied Christ. They turned him over to the Romans. The Romans crucified him, and I'm gonna go Old Testament on you here just for a minute. I went through the entire timeline of the Hebrew people. Now, Hebrew's Old Testament, Jewish is New Testament. They're interchangeable. It doesn't matter. But, that land over there. Now, I'll tell you this first. Okay, the so-called Palestinians, they don't want no peace. It's not about land. Okay, it's about annihilating the Israelites. That's what it's about. They're the only Hebrews there. They're the only people over there that believe in Jehovah God. The rest of them are Muslim. Now, you got some Assyrians. You got Christians scattered out in little pockets all over the place. But when you go through the history of the Hebrew people, Don, you'll find out that in Genesis, and Jimmy, you probably knows a lot about this yourself, but when you go back and you look at the first Hebrew was Abram, which God renamed him Abraham, and he also renamed his wife and gave her the name Sarah. And them races of people over there, well, you know where we all come. Some people believe the Bible, some don't. If you don't, then, you know, this is not going to matter to you probably, but there's so much history here. I went through I don't know how many thousands of years of history just today, but you know, there was no Muslims, there was no Arabs that showed up in Israel until they invaded the land in 634 AD. And in 636, they defeated the Byzantines, which was the Romans. And 2 years later, Jerusalem was captured by the Muslim army. So all them hundreds and or whatever it was, a couple thousand years before that, there was no Arabs. There was no Muslims even in that territory, Donald. And so, and to beat it all, even there was a guy named Walid Shobat. He's a former PLO terrorist. And if you remember the PLO, Yasser Arafat.
I remember
that name?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, this former PLO terrorist, Walid Shobat, he said, why is that on June 4th, 1967, I was a Jordanian and overnight I become a Palestinian. You know, Palestinian name, that's something that was made up. There's no such thing as a Palestinian. They're Arabs, and they have no claim to that land. In the book of Genesis, God gave the Hebrews that land, and the Jordanians and other Muslims eventually, they were, everybody was nomads at one time over there. But that's the only piece of land, Donald, that you'll ever find in any written history that God has given to anybody.
So Les, I know after World War II, though, that our country gave Israel back that land. I mean, how did they lose it to begin with? I don't understand all that.
What started it all was their disobedience, Donald. Every time that they did what God didn't want them to do, they married idol worshippers. They would go and do war with these countries, and they would marry them. They would take on their idols sometimes, and that kept them in trouble. And but now, what happened with you got the Ottoman Empire. You get ahead of myself here. The Ottoman Empire, they was Persians, and they had that territory in 614 AD, and then Rome. Here come the Romans, and then the Romans and the Persians. That went on for 400 years, them fighting back and forth. And, you know, when Christ was around, the Romans had Jerusalem. They had Israel, and eventually they just basically put each other out of business. And so, I mean, there have been several rulers. It's from 1299 to 1923, the Ottoman Empire ruled ruled there. They was Muslim Turks, and but several different people. Donald has ruled over Israel, and there was and during the Ottoman Empire. One thing about the Ottoman Empire, and they were Muslims. One thing about them, they had segregated the Christians from the Jews and even from themselves. And the religious leaders established what they called millets. And what that was, it was spiritual leaders that would handle the spiritual affairs and the commerce affairs and everything. And there was a time when they got along pretty good, So
I mean, what is it, Les? So I mean, like, we've always been told we should back Israel, and so apparently President Trump does back Israel. And
sure.
And Les, I was just reading today that the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, I guess that's their army, one of their commanders, and I'll try to pronounce his name, Qasem Soleimani, I guess that's how you pronounce it, says his nation is ready to support Palestine forces in the Gaza Strip, and after the United States recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. So whatever Trump's done over there, he's really got the Muslims ticked off, you guys.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, when you go to the Temple Mount, all right, like I said, Muslims wasn't always in that territory, Donald. But you look at the Temple Mount. Now you've got the Dome of the Rock that's there. All right, and that's where the two Jewish temples was. Okay, now they both claim that to be their holy land. Now, the Dome of the Rock, that was built, it was completed in like 692 AD. Okay, is when that was completed. Okay, and it was 55 years after the Muslim armies captured Jerusalem, then they built that temple there. All right, that's where Muhammad was supposed to have ascended into heaven. So they built the Dome of the Rock. All right, then somewhere up there on top of that temple, Mount Moriah, is where the Jewish temple was built. Both Jewish temples was built, and that's supposed to be the place where Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac. And so there's where your tension's at. And when you go back, all the way back to Abraham, all right, he had two kids. He had one by an Egyptian handmaiden of his wife, okay, Ishmael. Okay, and then his wife was barren. God blessed him with a child. Okay. And so that's where your problem started right there.
So basically, Les and Jimmy, you really got to know a lot about the Bible, which I really don't know a lot about the Bible, Les, which I will learn. There's a lot.
Oh, yes.
Jerusalem and all that. And what do you think about all this, Jimmy? I mean, just what do you think about all this with the Trump making Jerusalem the capital of Israel, Jimmy?
I think it's the right thing to do. Like I said, no matter what Trump does or what the Israelis do, the Palestinians are going to fight them all the way. And so their goal is to annihilate them, and that's it.
Jimmy, it seems like they're always fighting over there, though, Jimmy. It's always been fighting.
And it's they got history of making treaties and doing nothing about it. You know what I mean? Just breaking it constantly. It's a joke to them.
You're right. Both of you are right. Now, I wanted you guys to know something. I was doing some research, and I wanted you guys to know that the Islam is currently the world's second largest religion after Christianity, and they're expecting the number of Muslims to one day be larger than that of Christianity. You guys, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but that's what I read.
Yeah, well, they have like 8 children, $1. Their mission is everywhere they go. Their mission is to dominate. That's their mission, is to dominate and to overtake it. And so that's what they're trying to do. And here's something I looked this up, and Islam it never come into existence until the 7th century. And so, like, and the 7th century covered 601 AD to 700 AD. So, where was they at? I mean, like, all them years.
So it's basically a new religion then, this Muslim religion.
Yeah, it's not ancient. Like they claim it to be. The Palestinians, and when Rome controlled Israel, okay, they hated the Jews. They exiled them. They tried to run them out of there. There's never been a time once they went into Canaan land. That's the old ancient Canaan land. Okay, that God sent them into, and God promised them that land. Okay, from the time they went in there and conquered that land, there's never been a time when there wasn't a Jew there. Now, the Romans named that place Palestinia. Okay, now, Palestinia is a Latin word, all right? It has nothing to do with the Palestinians. Okay, you never see the word Palestinian in the Bible. The word Palestinian is not in the Quran. Okay, that name was given to that place. It's Latin and it means no Jews. And,
I didn't know that.
Well, believe you me, I've got a pile neck deep of research done.
It's a really complicated Jerusalem.
It is.
It's all complicated, but you guys, I want to move on to the next story that went on since the last show, and this is for you and Jimmy both, Les. The Democratic governor of California, Jerry Brown. You guys have heard all those wildfires going on out there in California. Well, he said that these wildfires is because of climate change, and he says these deadly winter infernos will be the new normal. I mean, you guys, wildfires, I was looking up something that 84% of wildfires are ignited by humans, down power lines, careless campfires, arson. I mean, there's many reasons for wildfire, and now beat it all, he is blaming our president because President Trump pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. I mean, this is crazy, you guys. It's just this Jerry Brown out in California, these fires.
Well, that's how stupid they think the public is, that we're going to buy something like that. That's what makes more people going to go to Trump, because of statements like that.
What do you believe that these wildfires are caused because of climate change?
Yeah, really. Chelsea handled it. Donald Trump setting the world on fire.
That's funny. What do you think, Les, about these wildfires out in California?
Well, let me tell you something. When you shut the logging industry down and nobody can cut trees, and you make it so hard for them to produce ball bats and pencils and chairs and things like that made out of wood, go out in the woods yourself, Donald, and just look around. All that stuff is fuel. Trees, especially pine trees. Your white pines, they get a blight in them, which is a disease. Other trees get that too, or you get the ash borer that gets in the ash trees and kills them. But your pine trees, they'll get a blight and they're bad about it. And man, that stuff is fuel. So when you don't have selective harvest in your forests, and you don't allow loggers to come in there and take the old growth out, it dies, falls on the ground, becomes fuel. I mean, and how many of these Democrats have got stock in all this solar stuff, in the wind turbine industry? It's all, man, there's more to it than meets the eye, boys. They probably got millions invested.
Obama opened up the carbon credit exchange, CCX. Yeah. He opened that up, and that's why he was trying to get the carbon credits to go through, and he couldn't do it.
Exactly, Jimmy. And I wouldn't miss it too much to say it's a ruse, because they're getting filthy rich off of this.
Exactly. Al Gore, same thing.
I was thinking the same thing, Al Gore. And he got that from his dad. The silver mines where I heard he made most of his money.
Yeah.
Well, so both of you guys would agree that these fires are not caused by climate change then?
Climate change is a hoax.
Yeah, and like I said, it's usually human.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. I was just looking for what you guys thought about it, and
people kill us more today than they ever were. You know what I mean? They just I don't know, the way they're brought up, the way they're taught. I don't know which.
Well, plus, Jimmy, there's a lot more of us in this country now too. I mean, it was the population's been growing, Jimmy. It grows.
Yeah, that's true.
And I thank you guys for your opinions there. And I want to bring up something else, you guys. I know I bring this topic up a lot on this show, but I seen a thing today. North Korea appears to be pressing ahead with its nuclear program. They was actually showing satellite images today, guys, of these nuclear test sites, and there's a lot of activity going around these North Korean nuclear test sites. And you guys, I'm going to tell you the truth, North Korea scares me to death. I don't know what you guys think about it, but it scares me, man.
I don't think Trump will let it get that far. Not to mention, we can knock out their missiles if we want to. We're just letting them play games for now. We must have good intelligence, because they must be telling them this one doesn't have a nuclear head.
So if we're looking down on these guys, we know exactly what they're doing. Is that what you're saying, Jimmy?
Yeah, I have no fear in anything. Like I said, even if they get a few off, we're going to intercept them.
So I hope so, Jimmy. I'm hoping that's what we can do. I mean, if we got that technology, Jimmy, we've got Tomahawk missiles and other kinds of missiles, interceptors. I don't know what you call those things that intercept those missiles as they're coming in.
The biggest ones are the Patriot missiles.
Patriot, yeah.
Yes, sir. Les, you got anything you want to say about North Korea?
Well, I tell you, this goes back to the Korean War, Donald. A lot of this fear. Everybody's afraid of China because now, during the Korean War, the Chinese...
Which never ended, Les. That Korean War never ended.
No, they signed a ceasefire. Okay, and it never ended. And that's what turned Vietnam, that same mentality, turned Vietnam into a quagmire. They was afraid of the Chinese. Chinese was sending soldiers in there. They was sending weapons in there. My father-in-law, he was a Korean War vet. My dad was a Korean War vet. And so once we seen the Chinese involvement in this, the quickest way for us to get out of that, okay, was to sign this ceasefire with North Korea. Okay, and the same thing happened in Vietnam. The Chinese was sending weapons in through Cambodia to North Vietnam down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and they was I think there was even some Chinese killed up around Cambodia. Now, I served with Vietnam veterans. I was post-Vietnam. I went in active duty in '76, and right after I graduated high school. But them guys trained me, and I talked quite a bit about that to a lot of them combat vets, and the same thing happened. And they, they done their job, Donald. But there's a lot of them that they just seen the waste of human life because in World War II we knew how to win a war. You go in there and you annihilate them. You beat the stuffing out of them. And we didn't do that in Korea, and we didn't do that in Vietnam. All were scared to death of China. And you got the old people like McCain and some of the rest of the old guys in there that's still preaching that same thing right now. Okay, but their biggest fear is China. And I'm like Jimmy. I'm like, hey, let them have it. Put the kibosh on this stuff.
So you and Jimmy both agree that we should just go in there and annihilate Korea, or should we just hit all their military bases?
But we can't go in and attack first, because otherwise China will back North Korea.
Right.
We got to try to get them to do first.
So is that what Trump's waiting on, Jimmy, you think?
That's what he's waiting on, waiting for them to screw up.
Well, to change the subjects now, guys, I want to talk about something a little funny here. This is kind of funny. You guys may laugh about this. You guys know how Trump's trying to put this border wall up between Mexico and the United States. Well, I was reading this thing today, you guys, and I don't know if you guys know about it, but there's a group called the NABA, and that stands for the North American Butterfly Association. I'm serious, you guys. It's serious. The North American Butterfly Association. They're suing the Trump administration for wanting to build a border wall through they got like 100-acre wildlife center there. Now, what in the heck is a border wall going to hurt butterflies?
Yeah, I know. Especially where they can make it where there's holes in the wall. They can get through. They're that dense.
For sure they could fly that high.
I mean, come on. The North American Butterfly Association? Look it up. I'm serious, you guys.
Hey, that's just like that little minnow, okay, that they used to take all the water from the
California.
farmers.
Yeah.
Them were some of the most productive farms, some of the best farmland, okay, in the state of California. But them liberals, they had the power over some stupid little minnow, all right. They stripped them people from their livelihoods and made their land worthless. How dumb can you be?
I don't know. I just thought that was crazy. I mean, a butterfly association? Come on, you guys.
It borders on insanity. But now with the liberals, Donald, okay, that's a front issue, all right. The main issue is they want them people in here. That's just a front.
Did you, Les, did you hear about the Russian President Vladimir Putin? He announced his intention to run for president again in 2018?
Yeah.
And what do you think about Vladimir Putin, Jimmy, running again in 2018? I don't think.
What's he got to lose?
Yeah, who's gonna not vote for him?
Yeah, I know.
He's a shoe-in, boys.
He's a shoe-in. You're exactly right. But I thought it was some news, you guys. So it's worth mentioning on here. Heck, let's talk, about the news and issues. And Les, he was talking about something the other day about imagination. And a lot of people in this country, even Jimmy, here, chime in on this one if you want to. But when we was all little, you guys know we're all older fellers, but when we was little, we had imagination, you guys. We would go out as kids. We'd play cowboys and Indians. We'd play war. I mean, we would even dig little holes. I would dig in the dirt and play with mud. I mean, but nowadays the kids, they seem to want to play with these PlayStations or on a phone or on a computer. I mean, what do you guys got to think about?
Well, it is a better way of playing war. I've done what you did, dug holes and throw rocks.
But it was rougher. It made rougher people out of us, Jimmy. And it got us outside.
Yeah, it did. It made us go into the woods and destroy it all.
Yeah, I knew Jimmy was going to come back with something like that. What do you think, Les, about us losing? I used to even play with this little army, those little plastic army men. I would play war with them, and I don't know.
Well,
firecrackers blowing up.
Yes, yeah.
Cherry bombs in your neighbor's mailbox.
Well, we were kids, you guys. We didn't sit in playing games all the time. I mean, Jimmy, do you
had to keep yourself amused.
Right. Well, here's what I wrote down. I wrote down a little thing. I was thinking about this, Donald, and you know I've got a big imagination. I like to act a fool, cut up, and do my stupid little videos and my dusty mows and all that. But I wrote this down today. This thought come to me, and so here it goes. It says, the imagination creates an idea. That creates a vision. A vision creates possibilities. That creates a curiosity. Then that creates a determination to produce and to invent. And I really believe that, guys, because...
Sounds good.
Hey, everything that we enjoy here in America, all the pleasures and all the things that we enjoy, somebody... that come to somebody's imagination one time.
Yeah, exactly. There was a vision.
Exactly. And then they had a determination. They said, well, daggone it, I can do that. I bet you I can do that, we walk over to the wall and we just take it for granted. We flip that switch and the light's going to come on. We stick our key in our car and it's going to crank. Don't never subdue the imagination of a child, man. I've got 7 grandchildren, Jimmy, and my youngest 2's like 3 and 4. And I've done this with my own children. I got down in the floor. I played with them. Whatever their imagination was, I went to that place with them, and I went down to their level, and I just let their imagination flourish. And, and you said you take the electronics, which my kids never had that when they was little, but my kids, I could watch their imagination at work, and that is so beautiful. And these teachers, these schools, they're making robots. They need to let that. The imagination expands the mind. I'm sorry to take so much time up on that, but turn it loose, boys.
Well,
I hear you.
Jimmy, how much time we got left, brother?
2 minutes, I think.
Well, I got time
not
to get
exactly on the money.
Okay, I got time to get in some patriotic quotes. Then, correct, Jimmy?
Shoot away.
I always love my patriotic quotes, man. And actually, tonight I'm going to tell you guys my favorite one. Well, my first patriotic quote of tonight, and I always do this in my shows, is here's the first one. If we ever forget that we are one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under. That was written by Ronald Reagan, you guys. That's a good one. I like that. And my next one is pretty short. It says, the cement of this union is the heart, blood of every American. That's Thomas Jefferson, you guys. Here's my next one. True patriotism hates injustice in its own land more than anywhere else. That was written by some guy named Clarence Darrow. Never heard of him. But,
oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that, Jimmy?
He's a lawyer.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you. Hey, you're pretty smart, Jimmy. You're a good guy. You are. You're a smart guy, Jimmy. I love you on here, brother. And anyway, here's my last one, and it's my most favorite quote of all. And it says, this is one life is all. Shoot, I'm forgetting how it goes. It's by Nathan Hale. It says, I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. I love that. That's my favorite quote.
That's a good one.
I mean, you got to think
all right,
about it.
It's time to shut down.
Everybody have a good evening. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.